Hello everyone, this is Mr. Taylor. Welcome to the class content for the week of April 12th, 2022. This week we will be covering some more academic ideas. In weeks past, we've covered how to start writing more academically. We've introduced you to academic style guides, tone, punctuation, grammar, sentence structure, and all the things that help translate your ideas into a more academic way on paper. This week, we're going to start looking at more of the academic, critical, and analytical content. So how we actually analyze ideas from an academic standpoint, how we write about them from an academic, objective standpoint. And it's going to be a little different than what you know or have known in the past as what an English class is. This is a very critical, analytical way of thinking, which means it's based on analysis, which is all academic and objective. Anyway, I will touch on that in a moment. This video is an intro video to this week's module to kind of go through a little bit of the content, what you'll be doing, and to provide some updates. So the first thing that I want to point out, if you look at our module here, it's got everything on it as it normally does, all the videos. The first thing you will notice is that it is a lot of material. I did this strategically. I did this purposefully. When I started the class, I wanted to give everyone plenty of time to get Microsoft Word, download it to your computer, get the full version, to secure the textbooks that we're going to be using, to get accustomed to the online nature of the class and how the class operates. I'm not sure if some of you are new students or if you're seasoned BLS students. I'm not sure if you've been in online classes before or not, but I wanted to purposefully build in that buffer period of the first 2-3 weeks. But you'll notice that moving forward, the modules will become much more time intensive. One thing you do need to realize is that we are taking a course that's normally taught in 15 weeks, so an entire traditional semester, and we're having to condense it and concentrate that down into half of the time, into an 8-week session, and that's not counting breaks, that's not counting time needed to submit major papers, etc. So we're going to have to cover a lot of content in a very expeditious kind of way. And so what you're going to see is that the modules are going to look more and more like this. You're going to have much more of the lecture videos posted. You're going to have more reading assignments and more in-depth critical, analytical, and slightly higher level writing assignments. The only way to get better at this kind of stuff is to practice and to actually put these concepts into motion. This is not a class that you can blow through the regular daily assignments and then submit a paper and earn a passing grade. The way that all of these assignments are built are scaffolded, so they build on each other to prepare you for the major papers. Every concept builds on upon the next thereafter in order to ensure you have enough experience, enough practice, and enough of my feedback to be able to submit the major papers. I will point out the schedule I posted here. I sent out an announcement for it, but this week we're talking about critical analytical framework. You'll learn all about that. That's how you take an idea, a prompt, a research topic, and begin to investigate it, to conduct analysis from an academic perspective, how you filter a thought through that process. In order to do that, we'll also orient you with critical thinking and what that means at the college level. Then we'll talk about developing and narrowing your ideas, a little bit about theses statements, organization, and unity. And then this week, you'll also get an introduction to the first major paper, which is the contextual analysis. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about argumentation, rhetoric, and persuasion. So introducing you to what we call the modes of appeal, how you make a credible academic argument. And then we're going to bridge the gap from all of these ideas we've covered to research, how they connect, why they're relevant, and how they will help you as you move forward. The pinnacle in this class is learning how to conduct academic research for your majors. And so this is going to bridge the gap and get us there. We're going to start looking at APA citations, so how to start citing your sources correctly, both in text and also in your references section of your paper. Things will get highly technical at that point, and we will constantly be referring to the APA style guide and also many reference guides so that you know how to cite things correctly. The following week, the week of April 25th, we're going to have an introduction to academic research, narrowing a research domain into a topic, drafting the research paper, which is the final or the second major paper, and then I'll give you introductions to that assignment, and then everything we do the rest of the class will be writing and drafting that research paper. So the week of 5/2, May 2nd, We're going to be drafting and revising our research paper, Introduction to the Final Writing Portfolio, which is very simple, and in talking about how you can improve your writing as you progress forward. So this is a very succinct, very, very small, compact schedule, as you can tell. We're covering a lot of material. We will continue to operate asynchronously as we have been. However, this week's module will require that you meet with me next week. It's going to require that you reach out to me by email this week before Saturday, and try to initiate the scheduling for an appointment. We're going to talk about your first essay and talk about your pre-writing worksheet, which is one of the assignments in this module. With that being said, it's an excellent segue to our first major paper. I did nix the second paper. There's usually 3 papers in this class, but I didn't want to overwhelm everyone, so I omitted the second, and now we just have the first paper, which is the contextual analysis, and the final research paper. What you can do is go over to our module section and scroll down. This is, of course, where this week's content will be. All of the other modules for the rest of our course will be here, so you'll see blank modules there. And then you'll see the module or the folder specifically for the contextual essay. The assignment instructions are here, and don't worry, don't let it overwhelm you. They are detailed. I like to provide detailed instructions. I will be providing more assistance with this. You're going to meet with me for this to go over a plan before you submit it. So I want you to look at the instructions now and understand what you're being tasked with, challenged with doing, and applicable due dates, when to do what, etc. I'm not going to jump into too much content. I just want you to review it for now. I just want you to take a look. I give you an overview, a structure. So what are the 3 prompts? I'm giving you 3 prompts to choose from. One thing to point out from a deadline perspective is if you choose the third option for this paper, which is choosing an issue or topic related to your major field of study or occupation, you will have to email me your proposed topic that you want to discuss by Thursday, April 14th by midnight. You just shoot me an email, tell me what you're interested in writing about, and then I will help you from there and narrow that down a little bit. But those topics have to be approved by me because they do need to be narrow and focused enough to accomplish the task at hand. Otherwise, you have 2 other options. Should the Church of Scientology retain its tax-exempt status, and are economic sanctions from the U.S. enough to prevent further military action from Russia in the context of the Russian-Ukraine invasion? I purposefully picked 2 random topics, but these are academic topics in nature, which means you will learn this week about how to filter these topics through the critical analytical framework and how to dissect and analyze those in order to narrow your thoughts, create an outline, and to be able to generate content or build an argument for yourself, if you will. So this major paper is your chance to put together everything you've learned so far. I'm not requiring sources on the paper until our research paper because I want to give you plenty of opportunity to practice with me, to be able to reference how to do that, and all of the other nuances and specifics of APA when it comes to making citations. So the paper is 3 to 4 full pages, not counting the cover page. I have a plethora of exceptions and rules for this paper. This is a polished professional paper in standard written English. And so one thing I want to point out is I tell you each part of the process and how to go about writing this step by step, from pre-writing to writing, drafting, editing, revising, all the way to submissions. I'll tell you everything you need to know. Right now, just read it and get an idea of what's being asked for you. That's what's important right now. You'll also notice that in that same folder, I provide you with a sample outline that tells you exactly where to put what. Let's see if it'll load here. So intro, main point A, B, C. That should be C. Conclusion. So it tells you exactly, it's a general format, what we call a classical essay outline, which you'll learn more about this semester. And finally, in that same folder, you will find, probably more important than the instructions themselves, the important prohibited items for this paper. Again, don't let this scare you. The only way you're going to improve your academic tone is to actively practice, and to actively practice removing some of the conversational elements or conversational informal words or words that are indicative of spoken speech. So you're going to find that there's a list of things you cannot use in this major paper, including conversational phrases, words, no waste words such as get, got, gotten, getting, you really believe a lot stuff, literally, virtually, etc. No personal pronouns. This is the big one for a lot of people. No using me, you, us, we, our, I, your, my, mine, etc. Anything along a similar vein. The goal with this is to start mimicking how you would write when you're conducting academic research, wherein, as I've mentioned before, the ultimate goal is objectivity. Objectivity is paramount. So you're taking yourself out of the content, your attitudes, your beliefs, your worldview, any bias or association you have with whatever topic, you are removing yourself from that so that you can present objective, logical facts and evidence. All of those things are important, but in academia, you have to suspend that and let the reasoning, logic, and data speak for itself. So I want to start practicing that in our first paper, using correct punctuation, spelling, no run-on sentences or fragments, no contractions. I'll cover that in more depth, but I want you to go ahead and take a look at that list also so that you are seeing the scope of how challenging the paper will be, even though it's 3 to 4 pages. After you go through this week's module, you'll feel more comfortable about how you're going to do that. Like I said, don't get overwhelmed by the length of the instructions. Again, we're going to meet in person this week as part of this module to cover this. Navigate back to where I was here. Now, this week's content, aside from giving you a little introduction here, and I posted the tentative schedule here to give you a frame of reference so you can plan for scheduling. I also broke the content down into what I would suggest be 2 different settings, 2 different, quote, class meetings, if you will. So there's part 1, Introduction to the Critical Analytical Framework, and a series of videos, and then part 2, Developing and Narrowing Ideas. All of the assignments are at the very bottom where they're normally located. So if you find it easier to break this up and spread it out to make it work for you to leverage with your schedule and other life responsibilities, this would be the way I encourage you to break it up. So you could do part 1 during one sitting where you look at the intro videos, video 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can come to the bottom and read chapter 2, reading actively and critically, and then circle back around at another sitting and do part 2 and watch lecture video 5, 6, 7, 8. Read chapter 7 and chapter 5, paragraphs and organization, and then you can do your in-class writing assignments. You can do it however you want. That's just a prescription. That's just a suggestion for you if you want to do it that way. You'll notice, like I mentioned, the content is more in-depth. We are starting to look at more academic concepts and ideas that's going to allow you, or it's going to require you to think outside of the box, if you will. It's going to require you to put an idea through a framework, and you're going to have to break an idea down and analyze it, group things and concepts together to determine what are similar concepts and what are different or how things are related. And then you will extract those ideas and create an outline for yourself. Aside from that, the one other thing I want to mention in this first video is going back, referencing the scope of the class and the work. Keep in mind this is a 3-credit class, even though it's in a condensed schedule. And what that means is the requirements for the class is 3 physical hours of class meeting. And so you'll notice that even though the modules are loaded with information, you're still coming up under 3 hours of what would be a normal physical traditional class meeting. You have to take into account the 3 hours for that actual class meeting, which would be lecture videos, and also about 2 to 3 hours of reading and assignments outside of class. Those are the general expectations for college level classes, especially for a traditional 3-credit class. And so it's no different with this particular course. I've spread everything out accordingly. The modules will reflect as you move forward. I would just plan that, especially this week, plan on all the due dates. Go look at the major paper due date. It's already out there. Go ahead and put it on your calendar. Go ahead and take a look if you're wanting to write about a third topic instead of the first two. You need to reach out to me by a certain deadline, so go ahead and look at that. And then also make sure that you are reaching out to me ASAP to schedule your meeting next week to go over what you've come up with after doing this module.